we don't always love the things that are going on in our business and life, right? You might put so much work into a launch or so much work into like an offer or talking about it or selling it or showing up, and you might not be getting the results or the response that you think you should get, right? My son thinks that he should not get in accidents regardless of his speed, right? And I feel like, well, sometimes though you do. And I think that what I'm trying to get at here is you might have things going on that you're like, this doesn't make sense. I don't love it. And this doesn't feel good. And I also don't even understand why this is happening. And it might feel really frustrating because, we, as much as we probably try to be patient, it can be really challenging. I want to talk about how do you separate business and life situations when things are not always going amazing, right? And again, it could be one or the other. It could be both. Maybe both things just aren't going that well, right? It is going to be really critical for you guys, especially as you grow, that you learn how to balance life and you learn how to balance business and maintain a level of resilience. I always kind of lean back on resilience because I feel like that's what I have. When things are happening, I feel like I have resilience, right? Like I'm able to balance and maintain both things while going through turbulence. And I think that that is important because business is easy when life is good, and life is good when business is easy. I think we can all agree to that, right? When things are easy, it's easy. It's when things are not easy that we feel like things are not easy. And I think that more often than not, like very rarely do those two things exist. Very rarely is business easy, life is good, right across the board. That doesn't usually coexist. Because when you're growing a business, you are going to be challenged. You're going to be hit with curveballs. You are going to be hit with things that are kind of having you check in. How bad do you want this? And are you serious? And are you really committed? And on the life personal side of things, you're going to be challenged in ways that might not be awesome, right? Because there's opportunity to learn and to grow. And it's funny because my son last night was saying, so I'll be totally transparent with you. My son, he does not believe in God. He doesn't believe in anything right now. That's where he's at. I believe in God. I believe in the universe. I believe in all of those things. And, last night we were talking about his accident, right? And how lucky and fortunate he was to be alive. And he's like, yeah, well, and I said, I said, you were protected. And he goes, I said, that's how you got, he goes, protected by what? And I'm like, well, God, angels, universe. I said, something protect. He goes, yeah, airbags. And I'm like, well, that too, but also like, and so again, I'm not going to push my things on my kids. I don't do that. But we were having this kind of conversation. And he said this to me. He said, okay, Mom, if God exists, why was I in that accident to begin with? Why was there a tire in the middle of the road and I was in that accident to begin with? He's like, so correct me if I'm wrong. God put the tire there so that I had an accident and then he saved me. And so I didn't want to get into all of that. But what I said to him is, I said, I looked it up for him and I showed him because he's like, I need to see proof, like show me proof or whatever. So I Googled, why would God, right? Why would God have bad things happen to people? And the statement was basically that, God does not ever interfere with consequences, meaning that whatever your choices are, whatever consequences come from your choices, he does not touch those. He does not try to create perfect, right? And so I was explaining to my son, I'm like, the point behind what I'm trying to tell you is that if you don't have turbulence or accidents or, troubled times or challenges, how do you learn? How do you grow? If God was to have you always make the right decision and always do everything so perfect and never make a mistake, how would you ever grow? How would you ever grow and learn? And so what I was trying to have him understand was rather you believe in God or not, or rather you believe in the universe or you don't believe in anything. The point is there's a lesson to be learned in everything you experience. And life is not about it being perfect. Otherwise, you would not have those experiences and you would never learn anything and you would never grow. And so a big part of what I think is really, really important is just, again, understanding that when you are going through something that maybe feels super challenging or really hard, or like, why is this happening? Like, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I always try to find a silver lining. even though it's really hard sometimes. Like, I could not understand in the beginning when I got the phone call about my son. I couldn't understand why. I pray every night about this. Like, why would this happen to him? Right? He's so young. Like, and then I had to remember, but wait a minute, he's okay. There's a lesson here. And I told my son, I said, the lesson is slow down a little bit, because maybe, even though this wasn't your fault, maybe you could have been a little slower on the gas, and you might have had time to navigate or to react or to dodge it. Who knows? And maybe you wouldn't have. But the point is, I think the lesson was for him to slow down a little bit, right? He's a little bit of a lead foot. And so that is the only lesson that I could imagine why this would happen, is to try to get him to slow down a little bit. So I share this, you guys. One, I'm transparent, but I'm also sharing this to help you understand that we don't always love the things that are going on in our business and life, right? You might put so much work into a launch, or so much work into like an offer, or talking about it, or selling it, or showing up, and you might not be getting the results or the response that you think you should get, right? My son thinks that he should not get in accidents regardless of his speed, right? And I feel like, well, sometimes though you do. And I think that what I'm trying to get at here is, you might have things going on that you're like, this doesn't make sense, and I don't love it, and this doesn't feel good, and I also don't even understand why this is happening. And it might feel really frustrating because, we, as much as we probably try to be patient, it can be really challenging. And what I want you guys to understand is, I want you guys to take your attention off that a little bit, and I want you to find a silver lining. I want you to say, what is this trying to tell me? You don't need to believe in any sort of higher power. You just need to ask yourself, what is the lesson here? What is this trying to tell me? Is this offer really what I want to sell? Do I actually really want people in this program? Do I want to be in this relationship? Is there something I'm longing for? I want more of something and I'm not getting it here, but like I'm also settling a little bit. I think we can all relate to that, right? If you're saying you want a 20K month, do you really? Do you really? Good. It's a logical question. If you're saying I want $1 million business, do you really want $1 million? Do you really want $1 million? Do you know what you would do with it? Do you know why you want it? Do you really want $1 million? I think it's just important to reflect back onto yourself when things are happening, because I truly believe nothing happens to you. I believe it's happening for you. And I think that when you look back on situations, you can see that that was the exact case. It worked out just perfectly for you, even though at the time it maybe didn't make sense. So even if you can only trust that, even if you can only say in the moments of those tough times, this is happening for me and there's a reason, and I don't know what it is yet, but I do believe and trust there's a reason it is happening for me, not to me, right? So when something is not selling, I like to reflect on, where am I off, right? Where am I settling here? Am I settling with the price? Am I selling? Where am I settling? Or where am I not being honest with myself? That like deep down, I don't want you to buy this program because I don't even really love it that much. And I don't see myself doing this in 2 years and I don't really know, right? Or in relationships, is this really my dream relationship, or am I settling in this stuff, right? Am I actually just like, giving myself false hope that something's going to change and miraculously be everything I want it to be, when really deep down, I know I want more and I deserve better. I think that we tend to get in these cycles, in these places of settlement, where we're like, it's all right, but whatever. And it's just, we keep hammering. And I think that when you go, and it's like, you're pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding and pounding, and nothing's really changing, I feel like it's not happening to you. It's a moment for you to reflect on where you might be settling, or where you're not really aligned with what it is you're asking for, right? And do a check-in. I truly, truly, truly believe that. And here's the thing. You're not going to not experience life. You're not going to not experience turbulence. You're not going to not experience a bad person, a bad relationship, a refund request, someone who's like, I changed my mind, I don't like you anymore, I don't want to be in your program, someone who comes in and takes you for granted, or abuses you or takes advantage of you. You're not always just going to have the perfect life where tires don't go flat and vehicles don't get crashed and kids don't get hurt or screwed up, or relationships go really south, or you find out something horrible news, or maybe we get sick. Like, none of us are exempt from any of that. None of us are exempt from any of those things. So if we know that life could happen and life is going to happen and things are not, it's going to be very rare. Good life and good business always coexist. Normally, one of those are going to challenge you. Normally, one of those are going to throw you a little curveball. And you have to be resilient in knowing that that is happening for a reason, and that there is something good that's going to come of that is guiding you where you actually do want to be. Even though you might not know what that is right now, and you might not be honest with yourself about it, you're still going to be guided in that direction. So you have to have that trust and faith in that part.